Hey, it's Cole here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a mid-season mock draft for the NFL. Now, disclaimer, I am recording this before the Sunday Night Football game and also the Monday Night Football game of Week 10, but that shouldn't change too much. It might change a pick or two once this comes out. It might be a little different, but I don't think it changes the whole scheme. I don't think anything drastically changes. So let's go ahead and get right into this. I am doing this off the top of my head, but these first few picks I do believe is pretty easy, I think. I don't know. But I think the first pick, if the Bears get the first overall pick, I think they're gonna take Caleb Williams. This is a prospect that I don't think you can pass up if you have that first overall pick. Justin Fields, I understand you really want him to be that guy, but you can't be waiting much longer. He has to show something good at the end of this year if he wants to have a chance to be the quarterback after next year, but I just don't think that's going to happen, especially if the Bears have the number one overall pick from the Carolina Panthers. If it's their pick, if it's the Panthers pick, I don't care. I think they take Caleb Williams here, and I just don't think you can pass up on him. Maybe they trade down, which I think is definitely possible, which I think would be very interesting. 2 years in a row they trade down, and honestly, you might be able to get more for this pick than you were for last year's pick for Bryce Young. So we'll see. Now this one is, I think, an interesting topic for the New York Giants, who have the number 2 overall pick. They're not looking good. Daniel Jones is out for the rest of the season. They paid him a lot of money, but do they still go quarterback? A year after, an offseason after, they just paid him a ton of money. And I think that's going to be a dilemma we'll definitely be talking about this offseason. Or do they go the wide receiver, who I think is the best player in this draft, if we're not talking positional value, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been incredible this year. He's been a generational talent at wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers we have seen enter the draft. We talk about recent prospects like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, even though he wasn't this good of a prospect when we were looking at him, Jalen Waddle, but I think Marvin Harrison is better than all of them, which is an interesting topic that we can talk about in another video. But Marvin Harrison Jr. or Drake May, I think, is the question we'll see for the New York Giants. And I think right now, I think I'm going to have them take Drake May. And maybe that's just so I can make an easier pick here for the Cardinals, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. Because if the Cardinals get Marvin Harrison Jr., that you got to take him. But I don't know. Maybe they might not be in the spot anymore in the next few weeks with Kyler Murray back. But as of now, I got him going Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, the Patriots, I would assume, are a little upset they didn't get Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr. because I think they're a team that could finish high enough to where they can take a Drake May and have him be the quarterback and give up on the Mac Jones experience in New England. If I'm here with the Patriots, I think is a very interesting conversation because I think an offensive lineman is a possibility. I think Brock Bowers is a possibility. I think Malik Neighbors is a possibility with these picks. And that's kind of who I'm going between. Do they go Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors? They need some wide receiver. They need weapons in general. If I'm here, maybe it's a little too early for Malik Neighbors. No, we'll have him go tackle. We'll have him go Olu Fashanu and protect whoever their quarterback is going to be next year. And then the Bears are back on the clock, which, I think this is going to be a very interesting situation with this 5th overall pick. You have Caleb Williams, you have your quarterback, so why not try to go after a wide receiver? I think an offensive lineman is still also a possibility. I mean, maybe you go Joe Alt. Maybe you really want to get another just pass catching weapon in Brock Bowers. And if you think he's just the overall better pass catcher than Malik Neighbors, maybe you go him. But I think I'm going to go wide receiver and get another great wide receiver for Caleb Williams. Got DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. Now, the Packers here are definitely in an interesting situation. They can go a few places, I think. I think a tackle is definitely a possibility with David Bakhtiari getting older, injury-prone, or, more prone to injuries because he has that injury history. And I think this makes a lot of sense that the Packers are going here. And honestly, I'm going to have them go Joe Alt. Now, the Rams. I think this is a quarterback possibility. I think, in my opinion, the next best quarterback in the NFL draft is where is he at? Not if I passed him. No. Michael Penix. I must have passed him. There he is. Okay. Michael Penix, I think, is the next best quarterback, and I think the Rams could use a quarterback, even if Michael Penix doesn't start next year, or doesn't start automatically. Which is, I mean, it's interesting because the Rams could use a ton of help on defense. I think, you look at the edge rushers, the defensive lineman, Jerzon Newton, who's really good. I think you could definitely make a case for them to draft there. An offensive lineman like Fuega is a possibility. So it's a tough one. I think it is. But I'm gonna have them go quarterback. I'm gonna have them go Michael Penix. Now the Titans are also an interesting situation. I think with this one, they need offensive line help, and I think Talise Fuega, I think I'm saying that right. I know him. I don't know him as well. I do know he's a really good tackle though. But I was also thinking maybe they go Brock Bowers. I think that's a possibility. With they need weapons. They need receivers. But I'm gonna have them going offensive lineman in Fuega. Now the Broncos are again an also interesting spot. They could go Brock Bowers. They can go an edge rusher. They can go interior defensive line. I think is interesting. And for this one, there's no quarterback I would draft here, and I don't think they're gonna replace Russell Wilson like that. There are some receivers, but they still have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims. I don't know if they would draft a wide receiver this high. Again, it depends what happens in the offseason. But as of now, all three of those wide receivers, they're still on the team. So I'm not going to go wide receiver. They could use an edge rusher, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not fully sure who my number one edge rusher is, but I'm going to have him go Chop Robinson. I think he has the edge for me as of now. And I think the Falcons are also going to go edge rusher. I don't think they're taking another offensive weapon. It would be hilarious to see them draft Brock Bowers, but I'm going to have them going Lietu, Latu, and the Commanders are now on the clock. And I was kind of waiting for this one, and I really wanted this one to kind of work. And I'm going to have Brock Bowers go to Washington. They need another pass catcher with Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Logan Thomas is getting older, and I think Brock Bowers can be that third weapon that Sam Howell needs to really be a good quarterback, which he's been displaying that he can be that franchise quarterback. Maybe too early on the word franchise, but at least a longer term quarterback. You know what I mean? So that's where I am there. The Bucks is an interesting one too, because they do need a quarterback, and there's only one more quarterback I would feel comfortable taking in the first round, and I just don't know if he would go this early, and maybe he does. I think there's a possibility. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna have the other quarterback go, and that's gonna be Bo Nix. I'm gonna have the Buccaneers select Bo Nix, and that's the last quarterback I think I'm gonna have in this first round. Just to talk about the quarterbacks really quick, J.J. McCarthy, I don't think he's a first round talent. Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he goes in this draft. I think he stays another year at Colorado or just in college in general. Jaden Daniels, Quinn Ewers, I just don't see right now as first round quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels has been killing it though, so we'll see. Jordan Travis, I wouldn't say so either, but that was kind of a quick idea of the rest of the quarterbacks because I probably won't really be talking about them that often. The Raiders, this is why I wish they would have drafted a quarterback last year. Now they're not in the situation, at least as of now, but they very could well be in that situation later. But what I think would be a good pick here is possibly a wide receiver. I think I could see them taking a wide receiver. I could be on the board of them taking Jerzon Newton and helping that interior defensive line. I think that's a possibility. They could also use a cornerback. And I think that's kind of where I'm going with this. And, man, it's going to be an interesting cornerback class, but I think I'm still going to have Kool-Aid McKinstry go number one. But that could very well change. The Chargers, I'm going to have them go Jerzon Newton here. I think they need some interior line help. They got Khalil Mack, who's been okay. Obviously, he's had that really good game earlier. You got Joey Bosa. But I think you got to make sure you get a good interior defensive line. And that's what I'm going to have with Jerzon Newton, one of the best defensive players in the nation right now. And then the Colts, I think a wide receiver is also a possibility. You got Michael Pittman. Josh Downs has been great. And I think we're going to go with a wide receiver. And my next best wide receiver is Keon Coleman. He's just athletic beast of a wide receiver that can make so many catches. If 50-50 ball, that's him. And I think that could be a little bit of fun with Anthony Richardson in the future. The Jets, they're not going to be in this quarterback situation. I think Aaron Rodgers will be back next year. He might even be back this year, so we'll see kind of what happens there. But I think they could also use a wide receiver. And I'm going to have them draft Rome Odunze. And that's back-to-back wide receivers. And that's, 4 wide receivers, if I'm not mistaken. Right there in the first 16 picks. Shows you how good of a wide receiver class it's going to be this year. The Bills, I think they could definitely use a DB. I think they can use a cornerback. And I don't know who that cornerback would be. Nate Wiggins is good. Cooper DeJean, he's good. Could go to safety, which I think is a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a guy like a linebacker. Even though some of them are kind of down here, but I don't think that's a crazy idea either. I think I'm going to take Nate Wiggins here. He's been great this season. And the Bills, they hopefully try again with another first-round cornerback. It hasn't really worked out with Kaiir Elam, so we'll see what happens there. The Bengals, they're in an interesting situation, I would say, too, with the how the board has went. I think they could go a few places. I wouldn't say they go, obviously they could go tight end, but I'm saying I don't think a tight end goes in this first round anymore. Maybe, maybe not. But where the Bengals are situated, man, I think J.C. Latham is definitely a possibility. I think Graham Barton is definitely a possibility. And I think that's where we're going to go here with one of these picks. Amarius Mims. I might go Amarius Mims here. Let's go Amarius Mims for the Bengals. Get themselves an offensive tackle. And let's go back-to-back offensive tackles, because why not? Because the Saints need one. The Saints need an offensive tackle because it has not worked out with Trevor Penning. It has not. And that's unfortunate because I know they traded up for him, right? The Cardinals have their second first-round pick from the Houston Texans, which I thought would be a lot higher, but the Houston Texans are doing a lot of good things. And with what they went earlier with Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they could look to the defensive side of the ball. I'm thinking a defensive line. With how far Jared Verse is falling, in my opinion, I think I'm going to give them... They could go corner. They definitely could go corner. But I'm gonna let's give him Jared Verse. Now, the Vikings are on the clock, and I think they could go defensive line. They could go cornerback. A quarterback situation is interesting, even though I don't think a quarterback goes right here. And yeah, I think I'm going to have them taking, in my opinion, the next best cornerback in the NFL draft, and that's Cooper DeJean. You can put him at safety, put him at corner, whatever he wants, and whatever fits your defense, because he's one heck of a cornerback there in Iowa. The Cowboys, defensive line could make some sense there. I think offensive line could make a little bit of sense. With that, I mean, maybe, no, I wouldn't say cornerback, but with this pick, I'm going to go offensive line. I'm going to go Graham Barton, the Duke offensive lineman. The Steelers here, I'm very interested with this George Pickens saga, even though I don't really think it's anything in the long run. I do find it kind of interesting. With this here, I'm maybe leading like a Cameron Kitchens, possibly. I think a cornerback is also a place of interest for the Steelers. But also a linebacker. A linebacker is also a place of interest. And I think it's possible we see a linebacker. I mean, Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter are interesting. Edgerrin Cooper is definitely an interesting linebacker too. I think I'm gonna go with one of these Clemson linebackers though. I think that's kind of where I am feeling this year, or with this pick, not. And I think I'm gonna go Jeremiah Trotter. I'm gonna go Jeremiah Trotter with this pick. The Texans with their second pick, or first pick? Yeah, first pick from the Cleveland Browns and not their own pick. And I don't think they go wide receiver in the first round, even though I think it's definitely a possibility. There's just, I mean, you got Tank Dell, you do have Robert Woods, that's his name, Robert Woods, and you got Mechie, you got Noah Brown, you got Nico Collins. I think that's a decent receiving core. It's nothing special, and I think if they were in a situation to draft one of these top receivers, I think they would. And I think we're in a situation where we're kind of out of the tier 1 of wide receivers. I think we're more of in tier 2 right now. So I think, that definitely plays a role into it. So with this pick, I'm gonna have maybe a cornerback that's getting a little bit of love recently, and I think could be going up draft boards here, and that's Terrion Arnold, the other Alabama cornerback, because he's been great too. The Dolphins, they need offensive line help. Anybody, and I think Troy Fountain now is definitely a possibility. You could probably play him inside too. So I think giving you that ability, I think, is good. So I'm gonna go Troy Fountain now for the Dolphins, and then the Seahawks. They had a good draft last year, getting JSN, getting Devon Witherspoon. I think with this pick, you could look at offensive line. You could look at the edge. They made some defensive line moves this year, but I think long term, you're looking for somebody there. Dallas Turner, Braylon Trice, JT Tuimoloau. I probably butchered that. I'll learn his name eventually, but he's obviously good. But I'm going to go Dallas Turner here. Going to go the next top edge rusher. And then the 49ers, they don't have too many holes, I would say. I think cornerback and offensive lineman is a fair accession? No. A fair idea of what they that they need. And I think an offensive line is a possibility. I think Patrick Paul is one of those other guys that you could play on a tackle inside or outside of the offensive line. You look at some of the cornerbacks. I think Kalen King, is he maybe falling too far? I don't know, because he hasn't had the best of seasons this year. He hasn't, and I think that's definitely we're gonna see some effect of that this year. And so with this, I'm gonna go offensive line. And I'm going to go Patrick Paul, one of those guys that can play tackle. Maybe you move him inside, and we'll see what we have there. And the Jaguars, I think, are a team that could definitely draft an edge rusher. I'm going to have them go Braylon Trice. The Ravens, they could go a few places here, but I think a wide receiver is still a draftable position for them in the first round. And I'm going to go next best wide receiver, and that's right now Emeka Egbuka. The Lions, they could go a few places. They got to re-sign some guys. They do. I think that's kind of what the offensive line thing is about, but I think cornerback is also still a situation that they should address. So I'm going to have them go Kalen King. The Chiefs, they need a wide receiver. I'm going to have them go Adonai Mitchell. And then the Eagles, they could go a few places as well. I was thinking DB possibly. They did trade for Cameron Byron, but he's still a little older. For the future, I think Cameron Kitchens could be a good fit and a good player for that defense. So that's my mock draft mid-season in the middle of week 10. You can look at it. What's your ideas? No trades. It's too early to be doing all that trading and all that stuff, but I think it's interesting, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, we're months away from the NFL draft, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.